At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Support comes from ServiceNow. We're for people doing the creative work they actually want to do. That's why this ad was written and read by a real person and not AI. You know what people don't want to do? Boring, busy work. Now with AI agents built into the ServiceNow platform, you can automate millions of repetitive tasks in every corner of your business, IT, HR, and more, so your people can focus on the work that they want to do. That's putting AI agents to work for people. It's your turn. Visit servicenow.com.
Doctor, look!
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's another episode of Dr. Homebrew, and today is the big grab bag of commercial beers. When I picked up beers from Brian Shar's lovely abode, he handed me literally a giant bag of beer. And so, after the last show, I'm like, what are we tasting, lads? And Cooper goes, just get them all. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I got them all. I got them all right here. We're going to reach in and we're going to pick a beer. We're going to do the beer hunter.
You know what I wished I was looking for that I couldn't find, that I'm sad that I couldn't find? Was Murphy's Stout.
Oh, man, dude.
It's like you can't find that shit anywhere anymore.
Do they even make it?
I don't know. I should look that up.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do.
All
yeah.
right. So what should we be drinking here? I guess we should talk about what we have. We have Hen House.
We got a bunch of Irish. It's almost St. Patty's Day.
Oyster
There's some
Stout.
Irish-themed beers. There's stouts and a Smithwick's Red.
Coal Shed Stout from Mare Island. Smithwick's Red Ale, which brings me back to, buying beer at the grocery store. It's like, gosh, should we get the oil can of Foster's, or should we get some Smithwick?
God, remember I used to get that. I used to get the oil can
Stout
in Arizona in the
Valley.
80s, and it was like so cardboardy, and I thought it was so great.
Yeah. All right, so that's it. That's what we're doing. So yeah, it's a bunch of stouts and red ale.
Yeah.
I think we need to stave with the red, honestly.
I agree with that. Let's do that. I haven't had a Smithwick. I probably maybe have only had it one time, like ever one time.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because when I was, learning how to drink beers, it just didn't taste, because it was imported weird or stored weird or whatever.
Yeah.
And it didn't really resonate with me. But
where I'm used to having, Smithwick's is in the, Irish bar and have it from draft. It's, it's a good characterful, beer that it's light enough that you can drink, a fair amount of it. It's a good sessionable, only 4.5% alcohol. So it's not gonna,
I think a lot of people, at least I do this when, you hear about Europe and the UK specifically. In my case, everyone's going to the pub, everyone's getting a drink, everyone's drinking a lot or whatever. You got to remember that their beers on average are like 4% ABVs. You know what I mean? They're not 6 or 8 like there are over here. And so we sort of like have this like drinking. We don't really have a drinking culture per se. We kind of do, but not really. Not like in Europe for sure. But I don't know. There's a tendency to compare ourselves to the UK and to Europe as far as like drinking goes. And it's like, it can't be apples to apples. They can definitely have a couple pints and then go back to, work or whatever, because they're not drinking 8% beers.
Although my brother and my good friend from high school, both who have been in the military and both have been stationed a chunk of time in Europe, they're like, never, both of them have told me on more than one occasion, never, ever, ever attempt to keep pace with a German or a British guy when you're drinking. because it ain't going to happen. You wouldn't even remember that it didn't happen.
No. Yeah, absolutely not, man. They're geared to process all this
exactly.
shit. So anyway, what's the point of this? I feel like we have to have some kind of point. I don't know if anybody likes not having a point, listening wise, but
Cool.
are we just cracking beers and talking
the
and
point
hanging
is,
out?
we're kind of doing a little St. Patrick's Day. So this is our nod to Ireland. We've drank Guinness on the show before. And that's it's a good beer. It's not a big deal to not have Guinness. But I thought, hey, I was at BevMo, and it was like 2-3 days ago. I thought that kind of hit me as a good idea for a good commercial theme. So this is our one Irish-made red ale. The Smithwick's is owned by Guinness. So it's they make this red ale. They make a pale ale, and that seems to be the full range of beers they make. And according to the Smithwick's experience in Kilkenny, it is Ireland's most popular ale. And you can take a tour in Kilkenny of the Smithwick's brewery.
Ale. See, at first I was like, I thought they drink more Budweiser over there. And I was like, well, that's a lager. So okay.
I wonder
ale.
if they have lager louts
in
in Ireland as much as they do in the UK. But good question. I wouldn't know that. Let's see. Smithwick's.
My favorite part about Shar is he'll tell himself he asked a good question. Like, I wonder if they do this. That's a good question.
I mean, I'm just a weirdo. I mean, how long have we doing this show together?
True.
And you haven't figured
No,
out
I
yet
know. I'm not saying I don't know. I'm saying I enjoy it.
I've got my own. I've got my own neurodivergent / spectrum-y things going on here, and that's
hey, man.
I am who I am.
Shar, we are all allies here. Okay,
damn right we are, whether you want to be or not.
Yeah,
we celebrate your diversity, Brian.
that's right. Yeah, that's true.
So Smithwick's, to me, it's a really nice, easy drinking pint. It's it's always smooth. The flavors are not bold, intense. It's just there's the characteristic ingredients. It's got a bit of roasted barley or black malt just to give the reddish color, and a dry roasted finish. So mostly it's pale, the base malt, and they don't use any caramel malts for flavoring. So it's a lot of just the base malt flavor. It's a beer, and then it's got this edgy, and it's not even there's no roastiness to it, but there's a light toasty richness that comes out, especially as it dries out the tongue at the end. And to me, that's just key for the style. You drink it, you get a firm malt flavor, but nothing all kinds of complexity to it. It's just real smooth and easy drinking. And then you really get that in the end is where you get that little, that little dryness and the light, you can tell there's something else there, but it doesn't express as roast or anything. It's not burnt. It's not harsh. It's not biting. Just a little characterful in the end. And then you want another sip.
Yeah.
It has a fair amount of body, and it dries up really quickly. It almost tastes like it's almost like a straw or plastic kind of. There's a thing at the end that I don't know if you guys get it or not, but when you some clamshell plastic things where you kind of smell them and they just smell kind of it smells like plastic. That's the way this kind of tastes on the back end to me.
A tiny bit in the very end. I can talk myself into that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, when I think back to drinking craft beer in the early 90s and imported beer and that stuff and getting interested in beer, this is head and shoulders above that Killian's Irish Red. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I used to drink that at this one place on Huntington Beach I could walk to from my apartment. And I always I don't know why I drank it because it was never all that good. It was just different,
Yeah.
And
sometimes there's something to be said for just differences.
Yeah, exactly.
Having a diverse drinking experience doesn't mean that one's better than the other. It just is different, and that's fine.
Exactly.
Too. Sometimes that's the allure of searching for something. You know what I mean? It's exactly. Do I like it or not? I don't know. It's different.
Yeah.
Looking at the Smithwick's website, they were brewing 40,000 barrels a year in 1860. That's a lot.
40,000?
40,000 barrels of this in 1860.
And you know that tasted like absolute ass. You know that was just the worst fucking beer that you could ever drink in your life.
You know, I've thought about this a lot because, you know, I'm weird and I think about weird shit. But I've thought, you know, if I could go back in time, if I had a time machine, one of the first thing I'd do, of course, is kill Hitler. But the second thing I'd do after I killed Hitler would be to go back further in time and try beer in like 1800, 1700 in Europe, pre-Pilsner, and see if it was ass, or if they had some way, if it was not as bad as I think it might be. I think it's as bad as I think it might be. And that's just how you got fucked up back in the day, because your life was shit. And that was the thing that was maybe a little bit less shit than everything else.
Here's why I think that is correct, that it is as gross as we all think it would be. Because the amount of breweries who have spent money brewing with rocks and brewing with all these esoteric fucking hipster ingredients, you know, whatever, right? Nobody has tried to brew a 1700s historically accurate beer.
In part because no one knows what it would taste like. But at the same time...
Well, because you like think about the interview with Matthias, right? Where he's like, basically every malt was smoked at some point because that's how you kiln shit.
Right.
So it'd be some kind of lightly smoked thing. With
it helps preserve the beer too.
Right.
So yeah,
there you go. Yeah. Probably the shittiest hops, if at all. I don't know when they started using hops in beer. You know, hardly any sort of sanitation, so it's contaminated at some level, and then there you go, you serve it.
You have to go back.
You'd have to clean it, and then the boiling, but the vessels, like whatever kegs they used, probably weren't all that clean, and probably had bacteria. But then you also, the counterpoint to me is like Mitch Steele's book about IPA, where he talks about like the mid 1800s. You know, England was importing a shit ton of California barley and New York hops for IPA. And the fact, why would you go to all that effort if you couldn't taste any difference? Or was it merely the fact that California could grow infinite barley and New York could grow infinite hops, and they happened to have a lot and they were cheap? Maybe you can that can cut both ways.
Yeah, it could be that. It could also be like how hard did we used to get for like imported shit? It says imported. It must be good. You know what I mean?
America.
And it could be just that
cool.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't imagine English barley is, you know, like very prevalent. They were probably producing too much, and they're like, oh well, we'll just import it.
I wonder if they even grew much barley
very
in England.
far north. Yeah.
Scotland probably.
See, this is what you should do when time machine is invented.
Mm-hmm.
Then you should go back and research all this, and then fast forward, and then write your book about. And then you figure it all out. Yeah.
Having a time machine, I would leave myself, you know, hints as I would jump around in time about what I should do.
Right. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, is this on any sort of like lists or charts of like classic examples of styles, or is it it exists and that's just fine?
No,
it's a fine beer.
15A Irish Red Ale, the Smithwick's Irish Ale is an example.
This is a classic example of the style.
There's an O'Hara's, there's a Murphy's, there's the Kilkenny.
It is, you know what it tastes like? It tastes sort of like a mild, like an English mild, but more dry.
Yeah.
Because all I get in the end, and I haven't had a sip in, you know, I don't know, a minute or two. It's that's all I just taste is dryness, if that makes sense. There's an actual lack of like saliva in my mouth. I don't taste the beer. I don't remember what it tastes like. So that might be its point, right? Where it's like there's a little bit of flavor and then it goes away.
It goes well with something like, you know, a shepherd's pie or something rich and savory, where you eat something like that, and then you take a sip of this, and it just cleanses your palate and dries off, and then you know, and you can session in it, and it's just like very
this and a
easy.
ham sandwich.
Oh, now
you're
God.
talking.
Like,
this and a croque monsieur and watching Elon gasp for air. Those would be my three things that I would love.
You know, I would like that rose. Have you ever had like that rosemary ham? Where it's got like the rosemary on the surface. They slice that up real thin, and you get a little bit of rosemary on the edges. This would be like a rosemary ham sandwich, like some really good cheese, like a brie. God, that would be just. I'm sorry.
putting
I
together the
ate like
menu.
an hour and a half ago, but I kind of would really like to have something like that right now. I'm going to eat that right now.
See, bro, this is what I'm thinking. Spiral. Spiral cut.
Yeah.
Thick.
Yeah.
Homemade bread.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm with you.
This show is pointless. What are we drinking next? Actually, let's take a break. We're going to take a quick break, everybody. We're going to come back. The Big Grab Bag of Commercial Beer episode continues right after this.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
Are your ulcerative colitis symptoms proving difficult to manage? Tremfya guselkumab can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. At 1 year, many patients taking Tremfya achieved clinical remission, and some patients also achieved endoscopic remission. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor if Tremfya can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, we're back, everybody. Thanks for hanging around. We were just lamenting how Newcastle sucks now in the U.S., but that's all right. All right, what are we drinking next? I love Barney Flat's oatmeal stout from Anderson Valley, but I've had a ton of it.
Curious about this oyster stout.
Let's do that next.
From Hen House. It's ale brew with whole oysters.
Yeah.
Now, I thought oyster stouts were like with the fucking oyster shells. Is this really with oysters?
It says
because that's fucked up.
Let's look this up while we're pouring it. Let's check.
Bro, if it's real oysters, I'm not even going to pour it.
Because you think it's gross, or are you allergic, or what?
Yeah, no, because I think it's gross. These oysters. Do you like oysters? Do you guys eat oysters like
Yes.
on the half shell and shit like that?
Yes.
That is disgusting. I hate that shit. My wife loves it. I can't. There's no way. I can't. It's just a cold loogie.
I tried them when I was in New Orleans. That's the only place I've had them. They were good.
This has got a.
I spilled on my new keyboard, you guys.
Oh,
oops.
So here's
I got one of those. I got one of those mechanical keyboards now. You guys, know about those, like the quote unquote creamy sound.
Yeah, you're like all
disgusting.
hipstery and shit.
I pulled this out of the package. And I started typing on it, and I literally giggled out loud. Like, I'm 47 years old. I don't giggle, but like this, I love it so much, dude. I love it so much. I love this stupid.
It does sound
keyboard.
like the old. I learned how to type on a manual typewriter in 1982 in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and that does sound like a manual typewriter, but a little bit less loud.
I love it. I am so. It's the best $90 I've ever spent in my entire life.
Nice.
Anyway,
so
tell me about this oyster
look at
stout.
the webpage. It is dry stout with CTZ hops, 4.8% alcohol by volume. We brew this beer in tribute to the waterways and ecosystems that have made this region of California so vital for so long. Whole oysters from Hog Island Oyster Company, which is where Sully gets the shells for his oyster stout. And
yeah, he loves Hog Island.
Yeah, and a touch of sea salt.
If you know what I mean.
I'm not sure if I do, but a touch.
It's always hog.
Oh, yeah. Well, who doesn't love that? A touch of sea salt imbue flavors of the sea. Okay. So there's a little bit of added salt. I haven't tasted this yet, mind you. The calcium from the oysters brings out the chocolate and coffee notes from California grown malt from Admiral Maltings in Alameda. So just like with Steven, they're using some Admiral Maltings malt. Hen House Oyster Stout is a beer with true terroir of both Bodega Bay and California's Central Valley. Well, where's the Citadel Valley come in?
Probably where they grow the malt for Admiral.
Yeah, that's got to be it. That's got to be it. Okay. Where the hops?
Or maybe they're getting the hops from
that place in Tracy.
That place in Tracy, yeah. Our friends that I don't remember.
We need to meet them sometime and either just go down there and be friends and hang out, or do a live show or record something or something.
Probably just get a tour, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to deal with anything. So it's with whole oysters.
Well, his whole oysters.
I don't know. So okay, is it?
I don't taste it
in the
beer.
shell. Is the shell with it? Like, are they just like shucking the oysters out and slurping and dripping them in,
that's all it
them
says.
in?
So I presume that I don't know. Let's see if I can find something else out about this. But
I don't know either.
It doesn't. I get a hint of salt. I don't get any kind of fishy or oystery character.
Yeah, there's nothing overt about that. So as a judge, it's like, well, do I want it to be more fishy and oystery? Would that improve the balance? Would that improve the beer? I don't know. I believe them when they say they brewed it with oysters, but are the oysters adding anything to the beer? Could this just be henhouse stout and be any different? I don't know.
Yeah, I get a hint of salt. You could put salt in and not have to add the oysters. Now, what they say, again, the calcium from the oysters brings out the chocolate and coffee notes. I do get chocolate, but you could add some pale chocolate malt and do that too.
I don't get any sort of... okay. To me, oysters don't have a flavor. You know what I mean? They're kind of clean tasting and snot-like, and that's kind of it. Maybe they're a little salty, but that's why you put the little sauce on them or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing there, really. So I wonder what flavor contributions it's adding to this beer. I would guess not much. Maybe some mouthfeel thing, but then what's getting boiled out?
Yeah, the calcium from the shells accenting the malt. That makes sense.
So, okay. So and I guess that's my question is whole oysters as an unshuck, do they just put the whole oyster in there?
It must, because they say whole oysters. See, that's a good point. Do they shuck them and then throw the whole thing in, or do they somehow open up during the boil?
I would imagine they would open up.
I would think so too.
Kind of, because you're cooking, like a mussel or something, right? Like mussels would, clams. Yeah. I don't know. These are the questions I have. I have no idea. But I can't imagine that the actual oyster, the actual animal is doing anything.
Here's an online review where someone states, uniquely savory cooked oyster bivalve flavor, like fried without the greasiness. I think they're making it up. I don't get that at all.
Of course.
I don't get that at all.
That person was is a highly suggestible person.
Yes.
I don't taste it at all.
It's a reasonably good stout. I don't think there's
it's a
anything
reasonably
wrong
good stout. And well, what's rad is that this doesn't taste like 4.8%.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, this reads like a 6.5% because of that like malty. There's that black patent. There's that roasty thing in there too. I would like a little more chocolate malt personally, a little back on the roast, but
yeah, it's a little heavy on the roast, the bitterness.
Yeah,
but not the middle malts are a little lacking.
It's very American stout.
Yeah.
Circa 2004.
But to your point, Jason, I think it's an excellent point that because I'm not getting any oyster character. I get a little salt, and I can understand. I 100% believe that the calcium from the shells brings out the chocolate and coffee notes. But you could add calcium. You could add salt. I mean, do the oysters, aside from being good sort of marketing talk, does it really add anything? And I would argue maybe it doesn't.
I like the story of the beer. I like the romantic, this we use California ingredients. We're trying to emulate the sea.
I love that. I think that's great.
It's brilliant storytelling that makes you feel like what you sometimes associate with a beer, it makes it taste better to you. And if that does that for you and drinking this beer makes you happy compared to drinking any other regular stout, please do.
Yeah.
I don't see that it, the romance of it makes any difference or the story adds much other than, if you had more calcium, it's going to give that accent, the roast and the bitterness, and give it a little edginess. It's not chalky. It's kind of balanced. It's nicely balanced with that. Yeah. It's not overdone. So that's nice. But
maybe I can taste some salt, like sea air or whatever. It's funny because, drinking this beer and listening to the story, I'm being transported to that brewery that I, went to on the coast up in Shelter Cove a couple months ago. For no reason. It doesn't taste like anything brewed there. This is good. Sorry. This is better. But, but it is that storytelling and is that marketing. That's such a big point and such a big part of any brewery's success. You can make great beer all day long. I mean, how many great breweries have closed down in the history of the world? Hundreds, not thousands. This is a fine beer. I think it has its flaws, but the way that it messes with my mind as far as, transporting me to different places is pretty cool. And I could see myself, having some sort of nostalgia for this beer moving forward, even though, there's 4 other stouts that I can think of off the top of my head that are better tasting because this is very acrid. I don't like Black Patent. Can't stand it. I took it out all my stouts, all my shit. I can't stand it. And this has a lot in it. Tastes like, but it's still kind of cool. Like I don't hate on it for it because it's bringing me to these different locations.
Right.
Their marketing is great.
Exactly.
Well, I would say let's move on to the Barney Flats. That's one that JP. But
yeah, I've had like I kind of want to try this Coal Shed from Mare Island.
That's
can we do that instead?
Are we just doing one more? Okay, yeah, sure.
Let's do that instead. We've had one break,
one maybe ish.
See, I have to do better at this.
We've done one break. Do you want to do one now, or you want to do one a little bit later?
Let's do one a little later.
Let's
crack this Coal
before the
Shed.
Barney Flat. Before the Barney Flats. Good.
All right. So this is Coal Shed from Mare Island, and I don't know much about this brewery. So one of you will have to educate me. Aren't they in Alameda?
Vallejo.
Yeah.
Justin just did like a 10-part miniseries with them about like their beer and the history of Mare Island and stuff. I haven't listened to it yet, but it's on the BN.
Oh, well, see, there you go, man. I had no idea. Oh, that reminds me. Before we get to that totally reminds me. I should probably do this on the first show too.
That's what post is for.
Shit, bro. That shit is so fucking annoying.
Just fix it in post, man.
Yeah, why not, man? I'm waiting for the Brewing Network website to load. Whatever. Hang on. The 14th annual Spring Brews Festival, you guys, that is coming up very, very soon. We're going to talk about it.
Please do. Maybe this year I can make it. If not this year, I'm almost certain I can do it next year.
Todos Santos Plaza in Concord to celebrate its 14th year as one of the best craft beer festivals in the Bay Area. Tickets are $65 this year and include unlimited pours and a commemorative glass. Of course, it is a 21 and over only event. So if you have kids, I think what they try to do is not take over the playground. So you can bring kids and maybe your significant other you guys can like take turns coming in and out and like playing with the kid at the playground while the other person, goes and grabs a couple pours and stuff like that. So, it is it's not kid friendly, but there will be live music. And apparently this year's event is a benefit for the TSBA Arts Foundation, which helps fund the summer music program in Todos Santos Park, as well as youth music programs around Concord.
The Todos Santos Business Association. Nice.
There you go. I didn't even know what that stood for. So whoever wrote that should know that. Sorry. Unlimited tasting from over 60 craft breweries, live music from Stung, which I imagine is a Police cover band.
Ouch.
I don't know.
I've been stung.
Yeah. And Purple Haze. And of course, great food. Blah, blah, blah. This is Rain or Shine. And of course, no dogs, which by the way, thank you, everybody. No dogs. No infants, no children, no nothing, no smoking. including e-cigarettes, you guys. But anyway, check that out. That is, there's the date. They should really have it in the paragraphs, but it is a Saturday, March 29th from 12 to 4. A nice little 4-hour block.
I could actually do that because I'm going to judge the finals of World Cup the next day. The following day is Sunday the 30th. So
there you go.
That's a great 1-2 combo for our Bay Area listeners, even our Sacramento listeners.
Hey, check it out. Go meet Brian Shaw at the 14th annual Brewing Network Spring Brews
I'll probably be
Festival.
there. You've seen me on YouTube. Now find me in person. Where's Waldo, but where's Brian? If you
find
free
me, kiss.
I don't know about that, but I'll give you an autograph. I'll say hi.
There you go.
Like anyone wants my autograph. Come on.
So to get tickets, go to it's Eventbrite. You know what? Just go to the website, thebrewingnetwork.com. And there's a click on the link there, and you can find it. But check it out. $65 is pretty good, man, for unlimited tasting from over 60 craft breweries. Food is not free, of course. Food is not included, but they always do a good job with the food truck. So check them out. And the music is always great. If that's one thing that we do well at the Brewing Network is good music wherever we're going. So, and shout out to More Beer as a sponsor, and also Danville Music. Yeah. Adam Schumann's, music store sponsoring the Brewing Network. What a good boy. All right. Let's drink this beer. Now that we got that out of the way.
Okay, this is while we're sipping this is a 6.7% ABV, 25 IBU. But
this tastes like what the hen house should be like. You know what I mean? Like this is smooth. This tastes like a 4.8 beer.
Okay, there's a label in the front, has like a shed with a number 151 on it. It says building 151 is the oldest of 9 historic waterfront coal sheds that fueled the Navy's transition from sail to steam in the late 1800s. Black as coal and good for the soul, shoveled with honor. Mare Island used to be a huge naval shipyard, and there were 40,000 employees did shipbuilding there. And that was also the naval base where all the Cold War submarine stuff, the nuclear subs and whatever, got built, serviced. And they would put all this. There's a great book about this. All the secret shit that got bolted onto them for spy missions and whatever, intelligence, all happened at Mare Island.
Wow, that's crazy, dude.
I want to. None of us are that far away. Coop's the furthest, but I want to just one when it's nicer, when it's like springtime. I want to go over and just. Apparently, there's nice hiking. I want to go have a sampler and then, do a little historic. Looking around, have a little hike, be a nice thing to do for a Sunday afternoon or something.
I think you should do that. I will probably try to solo a dungeon in Destiny 2 instead. But that's just me.
They're all fun. They're all fun activities.
Yeah. So Coal Shed Stout. All right, cool, man. So you said it was 6.7%. Good gravy, dude.
I can taste that.
I can taste it too. Yeah,
it's got
for sure.
It's got a much bigger mouthfeel than the oyster stout. The oyster stout was really good, and it wasn't like it was a thin-bodied beer at all. This is definitely a full-bodied beer.
Well, and you know what it is? There's a creaminess to it.
Yes.
The mouthfeel is there's a smoothness, there's a slickness to it that is subtle and sort of like not unbiased, but that's a dumb thing to say, but unassuming. The hen house, it just peppers you, man. You're drinking a beer. It's a fucking beer. God damn it. But this is maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm a beer or not. Who knows? I got you. You're drunk now, motherfucker. That's what I get out of this beer. It is very smooth and approachable and drinkable.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So the Coal Shed 101 is now their brewery / tasting room. They have other tasting, their primary location. And we can show you hunks of coal we found as we dug up the floor. Damn, dude. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, don't tell Trump. He'll eminent domain your ass,
You
dude.
need to clean it off first. You dip it in some water, get like a brush. Just get some soap,
brew,
clean
baby,
it
brew.
up.
We need to brew, baby, brew. That's how we do it. We need to be
It'll be nice,
independent
clean coal after you put some soap on
imported
there.
beers.
Yeah.
I'm surprised no one's done a brew, baby, brew. Beer before. Maybe they have. Who knows?
Yeah, and if you go to the Mare Island website, you see there's these coal sheds are not like little sheds. They're freaking huge, and you see them renovating shed 151, and these are like airplane hangar size coal sheds.
Damn, dude.
So that's
there's a weird amount of coal in the Bay Area. Like we have like Black Diamond coal mines out here in like Antioch or whatever.
Oh yeah, the
which is
east,
a cool hike
the east,
too.
Oh yeah, it really is. There's like several ghost towns that there's almost no remnant of. If you go out to Black Diamond, you can hike up one hill and you see the graveyard. It's still there.
Yeah.
But there's like 5 towns that used to be in like that park area that all died out like 100+ years ago. But yeah, there was a fuck ton of coal on the north side of Diablo.
Yeah. Still is probably.
Yeah.
So what do we think about this beer, boys? Cooper, what do you think?
It's a very good American stout. It's just it's got the alcohol. It's got a modest amount of hops to support that. Yeah. But it's not like overly hoppy, but it's it's nice.
Am I crazy? But could this be 6.2% and still be great?
Yeah.
Because I get some Bernie in the chest. I get some heat coming through, radiating in the top of the chest that I don't want.
Yeah.
Or does a beer like this need that alcohol?
I think the alcohol level is fine. It's meant to be a little bit bigger. It's like the IPAs, they're all 6.5% or so. And that's just what American beer is expected to be these days. You hand them the 4.5%, the Smithwick's or whatever. And it's like, oh, this doesn't have enough beer into it. I need more.
Yeah, but can it? But we could be so much better. I don't
disagree with you, Coop, but I also agree with Jason that I believe half a point's just half a point, right? 0.5% or half a percent. I don't think it would be appreciably different at 6.2.
Okay, I see. It's kind of like we were talking about the how much malt to back off in the last show. Where it's like, what's going to make a difference?
I think there's even an approximation into what the finishing and starting gravities are of beers you get. It's not going to always start at 10, 62 and finish at 10, 12. It's going to, the next one might start at 1063 and finish it another.
I feel like all of us, if we had a 6.2 and a 6.7 of this side by side, could probably tell some subtle differences. I think if nobody told us about that, or for most people, if they were just getting it off the shelf or at a bar, I think they'd never notice if they had one pint that was 6.7 and next was 6.2. I think that none of us would notice if we had a 6.2 or a 6.7 and the next was 6.2. I think that we'd be hard pressed to unless someone told us. I think we'd be hard pressed to tell the difference.
I think people would probably lose sales because people are very opposite of me, where I will go the lower alcohol, the better. And I think most, let's say 60% of the craft beer drinkers are like, what's my value?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, this has 6.4, but this one has 6.6.
I mean,
that's more.
Stout's a hard sell for a lot of people. And if you're going to get people off the Guinness, because Guinness is going to be cheaper, and it's going to be in every safe way. And it's a great beer. No knock on Guinness. But if you're going to try to compete with Guinness and have an American stout, you need to have some story that I'm local. You have to have a story about that. But you also, I think that's part of the sales proposition. You're going to spend more because it's 6.7 and not 4.5.
Right. And I think that's the problem. That's the problem there. And I know you're just kind of picking Guinness just cause, but like it is a lower alcohol beer, but people don't understand that darker doesn't mean more alcohol. So again, it's a marketing issue where like we have no idea what we're doing still to this day. you would think of all the work like the BA and the Homebrew Association and us and breweries all over the country have put into saying darker does not mean more alcohol. People, you think people would understand
that my dad called me after coming back from golfing? It was like 10 years ago, and he said, "Hey, you ever have this beer? You ever heard of this beer called Guinness? You ever drink that?" I was, "Yeah, it's really good, Dad." Yeah, I had one after I golfed, and it was really good, but it didn't seem like it was that strong, but it was so dark. But what do you mean? He said, "Well, dark beer's like really strong, right?" I said, "No, Guinness is like 4%, 4.5%. It's like a Budweiser." He said, "Well, how come it's so dark?" And had to explain. And my dad's not a stupid man,
Sure,
but he just doesn't. Yeah. He's just never had that.
Never thought about it.
Yeah, he's never thought about that. It's, and I realize, that's this a common denominator for so many people. They're smart people. They're not stupid. They just don't know anything. And somebody told them once in college or whatever, 50 years ago, "Oh, dark beer is really strong." Because, compared to maybe a 3.2 Budweiser, and somebody had a Doppelbock or something like that,
You're right.
And then, then all dark beers are strong. Well, no, it's just a matter of how much is roasted.
Yeah. Our brains are weird.
Yeah.
Our brains will tell us shit that is untrue. I mean, that's anxiety. But and I guess to your guys' point, talking about the you probably couldn't tell the difference between 0.5% of alcohol. Number one, non-alcoholic beers have at least that or less, right? So, you don't know. But I am very aware that it is my brain that I will look for the lowest percentage alcohol thinking that it makes a difference. But I wonder what really, and I guess it's all, personal, but I wonder how much alcohol really makes you, what percentage can you feel? Does that make sense? What are you feeling? Can you feel, is it 1%? You know what I mean? Could you, without taking taste out of it or mouthfeel out of it, physically, can you feel a 1% difference in alcohol or not?
Well, we could.
I know that I could.
We could do an experiment and do half and half coal shed with oyster stout, and then taste that next to this one. It's going to be 1% lighter.
I also think that
you're not wrong.
This is purely a guess. I have no. But I tell me what you think about this. I think that a 1% difference between 3 and 4% or 4 and 5% is going to be a lot more noticeable than a difference between 7 and 8 or 11 and 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because in an absolute sense, if you're talking on a scale of 1 to 100, if you go from 3 to 4, you're adding a third more. Right? If you go from 7 to 8, you're adding a seventh more. So the delta between the 1% delta is going to mean different things in an absolute sense on a scale of 1 to 100 than just a proportion every time. Does that make sense?
You lost me. No,
okay,
but so
let's say
numbers.
If you're let's say going from 1 to 2%,
me.
1 to 2%, you're doubling it. That's maybe a better way to say it. 1 to 2%, you're doubling the amount of alcohol. You go from 10 to 11, you're adding 10% more alcohol.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, but you think that the higher alcohol, you would feel the difference more.
No, I think
you're
going to feel it
less
alcohol. Because
that
difference.
Okay.
But because when you're low alcohol, and let's say you're doubling from 1 to 2%, that's like drinking. Let's say you drink 12 ounces of each one. Suddenly, you're 1% beers or 2% beer.
Well, I think too that there's, I don't disagree with that.
I agree.
I don't know that detecting 1 or 2% of alcohol is going to be super easy because it's so light in there. But where it gets in the guidelines, where it gets to be where they're talking about detecting alcohol in the aroma, in the mouthfeel as warmth, is once you get up to that 6-ish or so percent, 6-7%. With the most of 5% and below beers, alcohol is just kind of it might be mentioned here. There a slight alcohol may be detected in the nose or a slight warming effect, but not really even a warming effect. Just you may, in stronger examples, get a slight, a very, very light warmth or something. But, once it's a 5.5 or so, but when you get to 6-7%, that's when you you start to feel it in your chest. And this, we're up close to 7%. It's 2% stronger than the last beer we tasted.
Yeah.
And the alcohol is a much bigger component of this beer than the last one. The last one compensated for that nicely by using that minerality of the beer to accent the roast and accent, the bitterness that's there. But this one just has alcohol. It's probably a little smoother on the malt, less minerally. It's probably just as easy to drink, I think. And it's very flavorful. Both the last two beers are quite flavorful. I should go back and taste the oyster stout next to it now, because now it's been a while since I drank that. But
Coal Shed is also a great name for an American stout because it has that roasty quality to it, and you already know what you're getting.
It's genius. And it ties in with the history of where they're at and their tasting room and brewery. And it's just, it's fucking marketing genius, man.
Yeah. So tasting the oyster stout again, it doesn't taste that much lighter in flavor, but you can tell that the alcohol is much less prominent.
Yeah. I agree.
It's lacking that little bite, the warmth that goes down your throat. And
it makes me feel the warming more that I've had from the Coal Shed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I prefer the oyster stout.
Okay.
Because that, as much as the black patent or the bitter malt in the oatmeal stout or in the oyster stout are prevalent, they're there in the Coal Shed, but how do I say this? Oh my God, this is part of the show that I fucking hate. It was like I'm trying to form new neural connections that I can't figure out how to do. My brain is actively growing. You ever seen that video? It came out a couple months ago, I guess, of like they somehow captured video of like neural pathways forming in the brain, and it's literally like this fucking neuron and like this little tentacle coming out of it, and like it connects to this other one, and it's fucking trippy, dude. Anyway, that's what's happening right now. But the Coal Shed to me, and I know we're beating a dead horse, but who gives a shit? The Coal Shed to me, there is that big body to carry through into the that malt, into the roast, right? Mm-hmm. But the oyster stout it feels like more flavor grains. The mouthfeel has more texture to it. It's not just a big semi truck of deliverance of alcohol or whatever. There's a little more subtlety to that I appreciate a little more. Because I drink for flavor. I'm a unicorn. Mm-hmm. I drink for flavor. I don't really drink for alcohol. I don't like to get drunk. I hate it. But I love the way beer tastes. So that's just me. So for me, I'm going to go with I think there's a difference between like 4 and 6%, maybe 3 and 7, 3 and 5, 3 and 6%.
Well,
where the flavor is more forward. But I think once you go up higher than that, I think you lose flavor because you have to produce the alcohol. So you need more base malt. And I think there's a loss there. That's my opinion I just formed.
Another thing I'll say, going back and forth from the oyster stout to the Coal Shed, is that the nose is very different on the two. And I think that is because the oyster stout just has that, it's much more on the darker malt spectrum. It doesn't have as much of the kind of middle chocolatey malts as you might expect. In the nose, I'm just talking about the nose only. In the nose on the Coal Shed, I get more of a dark chocolate and a richness. But then when you get into the flavor, the oyster stout is nicely balanced and it's very smooth, and it has that interesting essence of the sea, the little saltiness that kind of accents everything, and the minerality that accents the roast and the bitterness. It's nicely balanced.
I do forget about that there is because there are those other components to this beer.
The flavor of it's weird because in the nose, the flavor of the Coal Shed, it's just a little more one-dimensional to me in the flavor. In the nose, it smells more chocolatey, but in the flavor, you just get the wallop of alcohol with some dark malts, and it goes down and dries off.
I'm gonna make a beer commercially called Kolsch Head, and it's gonna be in direct comparison. It's gonna be the exact opposite. It's gonna be a mirror image of the Kolsch Head beer.
That's interesting, and that'll be an interesting litigation when that happens. But I mean that legitimately, because that's,
I'm sure you do.
That would be very, from an intellectual standpoint, that would be a very interesting. I'm not sure that I'm not sure that victory is guaranteed to either side on that. But you talked about the alcohol difference. The oyster stout to the coal shed. Coal shed is like half again as much alcohol as the oyster stout. So that's a big difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going like up from, add 2 more points of ABV, not quite half as much, but let's say roughly half again as much alcohol in the coal shed, and that I can detect. I think we've all kind of alluded to that. Can we all taste that difference?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's. But again, that's kind of goes back to my badly made point earlier, that I think the lower you are on the spectrum of alcohol percentage, that jump of 2.5% is more noticeable than if you're going from, say, 11 to 12.5. Or
if you add another 2% to the coal shed, then you're pushing 9. You're right.
Yeah, then you're exactly. Then you're going to.
That's going to start tasting a little sweet and be very noticeable.
And maybe I'm wrong.
I can't do that.
Maybe I'm totally wrong. But it's I think you're into imperial stout territory if you add 2 points more.
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't do. They should do an imperial stout called Coal Head, and use like activated charcoal in it. Like, come on.
There should be a judge.
It just writes itself.
The judge training where like they do, you have off flavors training with the Siebel kit. They should do an alcohol training, like detect and order these beers by strength of alcohol. Give
oh
a
my
judge.
God, that would be hilarious. And
that is.
That would be awesome and hilarious.
From 1%
This is a Japanese game show.
1% to 8%, the exact same beer, and you have to order it.
I could do that.
Cool.
I guarantee you I could do that. My whole life has been headed toward that direction. Let's take a break, everybody. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back. We're going to wrap this show up here on Dr. Homebrew. It's the big bag of whatever the fuck I said. Hang on. We'll be right back.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Games.
The leader in affordable, high-quality kegerators is here. Introducing Komos, the kegerator designed with serious beer drinkers in mind. It features an all-stainless steel draft tower, a major upgrade over traditional chrome-plated brass towers, and Komos keeps your new tower cold with their air-cooled tower fan, wrapping your beer lines in frigid coolness. Your beer is poured from innovative forward-sealing faucets that don't leak, so they stay cleaner for longer. Dual gas inlets on the rear of the fridge allow you to run both CO2 and nitrogen gas. Serve your beer with CO2, serve your kegged wine, or even cocktails with nitrogen. The digital temperature display has the largest range available, allowing you to use the Komos Kegerator for fermentation if you need to. And now Komos Kegerators ship with duo-tight draft fittings for that click-to-connect assembly we've all dreamed of. Buy direct from KomosDraft.com and receive free shipping on your order. That's KOMOS Draft.com.
Now, back to the examination.
We are back. We're going to wrap it up with the Barney Flats Oatmeal Stout, which I think is one of two of the greatest oatmeal stouts on the market today. I love an oatmeal stout. I'm an oatmeal stout connoisseur.
Yeah.
Every time I see an oatmeal stout on a menu in the store, I will buy it because it does not get enough praise.
Can I guess
It's
your
a
second?
fantastic beer. Huh?
Can I guess your second?
Yes.
Samuel Smith's.
No.
Oh.
Brian,
have a guess?
yes. Well, you know what? I don't know. Actually,
your own that you homebrew.
yes, that's fine. Yeah. Well, okay. Yes, Shakespeare Stout is mine, but it's not really an oatmeal stout. But this beer is always super delicious. This can doesn't taste very good though. I'm going to say that right now. Tastes a little worty. Worty. You guys get that?
A little. This is Bevmo. It was sitting on the on the shelf for God knows how long. It might just be old.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping because it's such a good beer.
Yeah,
normally.
I kind of get that. And that's the danger with Bev. Back years and years ago when I lived in LA Metro, I remember the first time I saw Bevmo in Torrance in like 1999. And I was so excited because they actually had a lot of beer in the fridge and they had a big selection of beer. And then as they got bigger and bigger and bigger, they started piling up boxes like in front of the window and storing it warm. And it just, I don't know. And
it's so bad because you're relying on your fellow man, on your neighbor to rotate that stock.
Yes.
And even now, like when I go to Bevmo, there's so many smaller craft breweries that are represented sitting on the shelf, and it's fine. Number one, beers has been too expensive for me forever, but I feel bad for the people who are going to buy these beers because I don't feel like it's going to be representative of that brewery's talent.
Oh, there was more than one when I was getting these stouts. There was more than one that I put back on the shelf after seeing they were a year old. They were bottled in like April 2024. And I was like, come on, guys. And it's that Bevmo and Walnut Creek that's gigantic, and there's never anybody in there. And I wonder, how can they stay in business? Because I might see one or two other people in this grocery store size Bevmo whenever I'm in. It's not like I go different times of the day or evening, like for the show.
That's what scares me
for the
about
show, not for myself. And it's like, who is buying any of this? Are they money laundering? Like, what is even happening?
That's what scares me about Total Wine.
Yeah,
because they have a big beer selection. What they do is great. They have an entire aisle, I think, of like singles.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll break apart their 6-packs or 4-packs or whatever. I think that's really great.
Yeah.
They mostly do wine, of course, but they have a lot of beer represented there. And it's like, who's buying this?
When I go to the Total Wine in Pleasant Hill, which is a half mile away from that Bevmo, there's sometimes 3 cashiers that are like 6 people deep at like various times of the day. So the people are going there. So somebody's buying. But I wonder that the imported aisle, how long has that shit been sitting there on the shelf outside of refrigeration?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's wild.
So, Anderson Valley was put up for sale in September. I don't know if anyone bought it yet, but.
Oh, really?
It was in September?
It's, if you have $7.9 million burning a hole in your pocket, you can buy it.
7.9 million? Dude.
7.9 million. That's all you need. It's a small business.
So they got Foul Allen back, which made the beer immensely better all of a sudden. So, God, I hope that
they've got a very cool looking grounds, and I've never been to the Boonville Fest, but I hear really great things about that.
Boonville's a mess. Don't go.
But the festival they do every year.
I've been to the brewery.
Don't go. It's a mess.
We went to we did a little family trip up to like Mendocino and went to the brewery, and the grounds are great. They have a gigantic disc golf course. And we brought the dogs, and oh my God, they were all so exhausted afterwards because they did nothing but, there was like nobody out there but us in the disc golf course. And they just got to run all afternoon. And I've rarely seen dogs that tired because they were just like, hey, we can go here, we can go there. And they just would not stop for like 2 hours.
Nice.
And then they stopped because they got in the car, and then everyone pretty much crashed.
Yeah, they have 100-barrel and 85-barrel boil kettle, as well as a 9-barrel pilot system. Annual capacity is listed as 100,000 barrels. The property has a beer park that includes a 10,000 square foot lounge, an outdoor music stage, and an 18-hole disc golf course. Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a ton of property. I've been there once after the beer fest, but I didn't know anybody really. And I think I was working for More Beer at the time. So I didn't know anybody in there. And I don't think it was that, built out or whatever. I just got like a beer in the tasting room before we left, which is a shame. I would have liked to visit it. But apparently they sold the business in 2010 to HMB Holdings, which was an investment group led by former United States beverage executive Vice President Trey White.
That was a bad idea because they stagnated for 10 years, and I thought they were going to go out of business.
So they said that at the time of sale in 2010, they were selling about 26,000 barrels annually. But annual capacity is listed as 100,000. So even in 2010, they were selling a quarter of their capacity. Yeah. And apparently, this guy White grew sales to more than 50,000 barrels in 5 years.
Where? How? I mean, I don't know. Must have been
Probably
somewhere not around here.
Pushed it out to more Bevmos and more wines.
In 2019, White sold the brewery to local industry veteran Kevin McGee, who teamed up with his father, Michael McGee, to purchase the brewery. The listing touts the versatility of the brewery, which can continue as a brewery and event space. It is said to be the world's first solar-powered brewery with a 125 kilowatt-hour solar array that offsets about 50% of the power needs of the brewery and has a self-contained and managed water system. Gross revenue is $4.2 million. The real estate itself is valued at 5.4.
That's a stretch. It's a lot of land, but who's gonna buy that for 5.4?
I don't know, because it's also like way the fuck up there, and that the highway to get there gets washed out often.
It's a pain in the ass to get to Boonville. That's why it's called Boonville. It's a pain in the ass to get there.
Right. All right, we are gonna get out of here. I think, everybody. What do you think? I think we're done. We talked about all the stuff.
Yeah, I do. Unless Coop wants to make some blends here.
That's okay.
I don't know.
That's all right. Yeah, the Barney Flats. At first, I thought I was trying to listen to JP's comments about it, like not being the freshest version that he's had. But as I keep tasting it, it's a pretty good beer. It's a very
To be honest with you, I was just trying to be nice because I like the guys at Anderson Valley, and I'm a big fan of the beer, and I like the brand, and I think it's just one of those California staples that can't go out of business. But just the can that I got, I'm gonna open this other can. The can I got tastes like it's unfermented. You know what it tastes like? It tastes like a non-alcoholic beer. That's the unfermented.
I get what you're saying.
This other can is a little different. There's a little more hop to it, but it's still not the same. Sorry, guys.
You have your romantic ideal of what the beer is to you, and you're thinking back to the time you sipped it in Boonville. And
I mean, I had this beer
fresh from the
You know
source.
what? I have an old can in my fridge, but I'm too lazy to go get it. Shut up, Donnie. All right, let's get out of here, everybody. If you want to be on the show, send us some homebrew. Email Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com.
Yep.
And he will send you the link to get on the list. There is a list. There's nobody on it. So you would be the first on the list. Maybe ahead of the Brew Strong guys. Who knows?
There's a guy on the list. Yeah, there's those guys on the list too.
Yeah. Have they filled out the sheet yet?
I don't check the sheet. Do you?
No.
Okay.
I
never look at the sheet.
Man.
It's pointless if someone fills out the sheet or not. But I always tell them to, just because I like to be bossy. It's fun. But fill out the sheet, send us a beer. We'll just judge the beer. We don't judge the sheet. We don't care about that.
I do. I would.
Usually in prior days, we had sponsor awards to send you and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that was important to have your address.
Yeah. But, if you want to sponsor the Brewing Network, email me at jp@thebrewingnetwork.com.
If you
want to sponsor this show,
come in at a high enough sponsor level, you can get us rich enough to buy the grounds in Boonville and
oh my God, can you imagine
headquarters up there?
Hey, I would.
I don't know.
I'd invest some money into it. I don't have nearly as much to warrant any sort of active talks with anybody, but I bet you can talk them into $7 million. I bet you can go $7 million flat. I bet you could buy that space.
Get a group of investors to Yeah. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
it's already sold.
I bet if you had just cash and didn't need to finance or make any payments or do whatever, I bet you get it for $5. That's a guess. I'm guessing.
I don't know. That's less than the land is valued too.
But
you get all the equipment.
Is way overvalued, and every bit of every time someone talks about land appraisal is so speculative and so subjective. I bet if you could write them a check for $5 million, you could take the whole thing right now.
They're not making any more land. And
no, they're not.
Sea levels are rising. So
they are in Hawaii. The volcanoes are making more land.
Doesn't change the fact that that Boonville is nice, but it's the middle of fucking nowhere, and it takes like 4 hours to get to the Bay Area.
Yeah. All right, let's get out of here, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning into the Dr. Homebrew Show on the Brewing Network.
/ real estate
speculative market. Yeah, whatever, dude. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much.